Anonymous has just put, I sort of agree with it. I don't know whether I agree with it exactly, but I generally get his gist, and I do kind of like know what he's talking about. But it's only because you can predict and calculate it. It's partly to do with observations and calculations, as well as the kind of psychic part that they're purporting exists, because you can being able to see what the other people are doing. The thing is that these events that he's talking about, well, he's basically, the model that he's got behind him is the Event Horizon, basically. There's a bit like, there was a horror movie called Event Horizon, and we are getting these incidents that are happening, but I found that incidents happen within the house that, there's definitely no physical interaction. It kind of happens. For example, if you're thinking about cutting your finger or blood or something, and then if you've got that playing on your mind, but then you go into a room with no one else in it, and get out a cardboard box and some sellotape and some scissors, and then you like package something up, and then you accidentally cut your finger on it. That is basically what this guy's talking about, right? But that was it happened through completely subconscious, maybe subconscious means, but there is a manifestation power that is not always, like, say, for example, not by your own hand. You could say, well, you maybe shouldn't have gone for that move or maneuver or dexterity hold of something, and maybe you did it, you subconsciously mind went to do it, and you knew it was going to cut you, so it did it on purpose, but you didn't intend to. But it almost like hypnosis, part of it is actions, but part of it is, you can think. I was on the bus and I was thinking of, these leaves falling and actually things happening precisely. I was actually sat on the bus looking out the window, and I was thinking about, what are the chances of things happening precision without you touching them? Like the whole name of the band, the Rolling Stones, and this sense of, it's just rolling through the nature. It's like a natural force, almost like someone has to push the dominoes, but once you push one, and what happened is, when I was thinking about this kind of like thought archetype of something happening and something happening with precision, like going somewhere or doing something just by thinking about it, not actually, you're actually engaged in the activity with your physical body. So, your physical body actually does do it. So there was some subconscious action involved. I'm talking about, without actually laying your hands on it. So the bus went along, and then the leaves come off the tree, and one of them kind of like fell and swirled, and then there was this like bin, and it went into the bin exactly. It was like, the bin was not big. It was like really, really, really kind of like, difficult. The odds, it didn't, just drop straight down. It kind of like blew, and then it kind of circled, and then went across, and then just dropped. And it definitely did it. And that was after I'd been thinking about it. So this video is purporting that we all have a psychic effect on things besides the subconscious, but then there's also the intended actions as well, right? People are intending things, right? So, Bezos is intending to make money, the government are intending to stop us having rights, there's an intention behind it. So, some of these events that happen in the news, these incidents, therefore, when the police are involved, the police want to find evidence of someone who has done something with an intent, and if they prove they've done it, then even if they've proved they physically did something, was there an intention? Now, with that, whether it's a crime or an accident or a crash or something like that, or a weird road incident or Princess Diana or that train crash with the signal failing when 250 people died in India, or, the other things, right? So, so when it comes to, the police, if they were looking at it and for legal purposes, the thing is, even in that scenario, right, how do you prove, right, if you, how would you do it in court if you never mentioned it to anyone and you'd thought about, blood on your finger or a cut? How did you get that thought? Did it come through the TV? Was it on your mobile phone? Did you remember it from the past? Did someone mention it? Or was someone saying it through a mobile? Was there a signal on a mobile phone? Is there some sort of signal that they've got that's not audible to the ear? Like, what I felt in 2001, 2000, around that Terence McKenna period, when I was laid next to my bed and text messages were coming through to my phone and I could actually feel them. My brain actually had a physical response, like it kind of stimulated a part of my brain. I felt a kind of hum or a physical sensation, and then 15 seconds or 10 seconds after, or 7 seconds, something like that, then the mobile phone went beep beep and a text message had arrived. So whatever that carrier signal is for the text messages, I could feel it. Now, was it the signal coming through to the phone, or was it the phone had already got the signal and it was actually already emitting something that was about to tell you that a message had arrived and do the alarm, right? Because there's two things. One thing is it could have been the actual signal that, comes through the house, through the walls, or the other thing could just be a function of the phone which goes beep, 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 there's a message. So was, like your phone vibrates, when there's a call, my phone's vibrating. So we don't know whether it was the actual signal or whether it was the device. If it was the device emitting a some sort of vibrate, not like when your phone vibrates physically, but some other form. And was it the phone almost like a when your phone vibrates on the table or it beeps, was it like an other notification method that they got that not told us about, where they could make it send you this notification that a message had arrived, but you felt that notification in your pineal gland or in the brain because they could actually send a small microwave or something like that? Now, I would tend towards that they'd actually got something that they were toying with us in the phone, rather than the fact that it was the signal itself, because you probably feel it more often, or it might have just been the mechanism in the phone that had received the signal and it was processing it and about to give you a message, which would suggest that there was a bit of an interlude in between. But whichever way it was, there was no doubt that they have got a signal that they can send a frequency that whether it's pineal gland or part of the brain, can feel physically, but your ears don't hear it and you don't see it. It's not a sound, it's not visual, it's it's more like something like a microwave, like a microwave oven. So the timing of it and how it worked, I mean, I would be more suggestive that they had actually got something in there which actually emitted a signal to you. And it was experimental, rather than it being you actually feeling the signal itself. Unless they've got two different signals, one for a text message coming in, which is different to one with a phone coming in. But I think that the frequency of me feeling it was, I only felt it a few times, several times, because, it's when you've got the phone right next to your bed on the cabinet. quite close. This gives very, very dubious questions around Terence McKenna with his brain tumor and so forth. That is one thing, right? They could be emitting signals on that frequency quite a lot, but the thing is, when you can feel it physically in your brain, then you're like, some things stimulating my brain. They've got something stimulating my brain. It's obviously coming from my phone. I'm not stupid. Now, if they did that, then more people would be saying, what are they doing with these waves that are stimulating your brain? And people would start complaining, right? That Terence McKenna incident seems perfectly a big news story for that. It's almost like, the Diner crash or something, or this Russell Brand stunt, when it just happens to be that they pass the law for this online security bill and then they take Russell Brand down. It's almost like, the Terence McKenna brain tumour thing, and they've been putting those mobile phone signals out around that time, and then suddenly they stopped. So it's like, we'll have to reduce this. So they could have a signal, and then they could have made it if they wanted to, so we could physically feel it all the time. But the thing is, when you physically feel it all the time, it's there. You know about it exists. There's something vibrating my brain physically, a signal, right? And then you start asking questions and you don't like it. Now, if they don't want you to know they're doing it, what happens is they would reduce the frequency or lower it so you can't actually feel it, because they only, you can only know someone's punched you in the face when you feel the slap. You only know when you burn your hand when it burns. You only know if someone tweaks your nipple when they squeeze it. So if they carried on with this signal which can be felt, then they are giving themselves away, aren't they? Right? So naturally, to make it so you can't feel it would be desirable, because they don't really want you to know that they're doing it. So that's what I'm tending to think now. And then, so I think they likely have something. I don't know how accurate it is, and I don't know how often they use it, if it's always on constantly, but there is something that they can make use of, right? We know that for sure. Now, I don't know whether these devices are capable of doing what those Nokia ones were doing in the 2000s, or if they've tweaked it and fine-tuned it. So there's that as well. So if something pops into my head, there are different ways to prime you with a thought form. Now, the easiest way is just the word, say it. So if you hear it, you can hear it. If someone shouts hello, you are hearing a greeting, right? If someone shouts an insult at you, then you hear it. So the easiest way to affect you is actually when you hear it, right? If someone says stop, if someone's at the other side of the road and they want you to stop, they want you to hear it, right? That's how the message transfers. You heard it, right? Or see it visually. I can see a stop sign, right? Or physically grab hold of you so you can't move, right? Now, so the easiest way for them to affect and influence you is so you see it and hear it, which is where we've got all the commercial adverts, the cartoon characters, the familiars, the celebrities on the TV, all the influencer stuff that we know about because we can hear it. They want you to hear it. They want you to read the advert, the words, the letters. They want you to hear the sounds and the music and the seatbelt buzzer. Beep, 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 beep. They want you to hear it. That's how they make you put the seatbelt on. If you couldn't hear it, then you wouldn't comply. But then there's this other level, which is now we're looking at non-audio, non-visual, which is an other medium, right? Like, I said in the 2000 Nokia phones, which you could physically feel. So, that whole area, it will benefit them if they also had a medium that does work, but you are really not very aware of it. If they had, a medium that, you didn't know about, like they could, whisper in your ear, but you not hear it, or you don't know who's saying it, Now, the thing with cause and effect is we know who's getting us to eat all the food. It's, Tony Tiger, Snap, Crackle and Pop, the Warburtons, and whoever owns them. We know that they're doing it because you can clearly see the cartoon characters. It's there. And they place it. And there's even a science of, product placement and influencer marketing. It exists, right? So you can call them out on it. Although, now the thing is, even though people know about it and they're aware of it, and even though this guy's telling us about it, we don't actually have full control of ourselves because of instinct and addiction and other, just the way we are. Like, you can't resist, and they even wind us up on this through the adverts, you can't resist, would you give someone your last roller, etc., all that, you cannot resist the temptation of a cornetto or whatever. So, I am under this influence, if someone leaves a bit of a pork pie, even though I don't like eating animals, even though I'm trying to diet, the odds are, the gamble, the William Hill gamble, the bookmaker, the Peaky Blinders, going to bet on that I'm going to eat it. If I walk into that kitchen, Prince Charles can win a bet. He could bet a bit. He could likely bet with Elon Musk £1 million, and it'd be a safe bet. If Prince Charles bets with Harry and William, if there's that, piece of Scotch egg, exotic Scotch egg in the kitchen, and, my dad's had, half of it or 3/4, it's a safe billion bet. I mean, Elon Musk it's a safer bet than Elon Musk's money with Twitter, although we don't know what happened with Twitter. I think that he'd planned to take it over from the start. It makes it look like he lost a load of money on it, but, he wanted it, and I don't know what his true relationship is to those other people, but, we know that he's revealed his cards now. He wants to take over the world with payments. He wants to be the world's leading platform that everyone or anyone uses, right? That's world domination, same old dream. So, so this is, what Elon Musk think to Neuralink, that's his subject. Now, Elon Musk could easily, and Prince Charles would be safe. It would be safer than a school kid without gates around the school. It would be a safer bet than the stock market. It would be a safer bet, than, professional, one of these, parlay guys who do, the street walking stunts, walking out across, a telegraph pole or something, he could easily get Monopoly money chips, $1 billion, like on Casino Royale, and it would be safe, because I can't stop myself from doing it at the moment, right? I'm going to do it, because even if I don't want to, there's a certain part of the habitual nature. Now, they've written the book on this. Never mind, forget Alexander Bell. Forget the Nobel Peace Prize. Forget any contender who walks up there onto a stage with Klaus Schwab, gets an award, gets in the Science Journal, gets, all the hustle and bustle at Oxford University, and, gets, to be on the TV show and all that, right? We know Charles likes to be famous, but when it comes to military weapons, things of their advantage, like the internet, which they were developing years before they released it to us, right? They don't need to, and they don't want to tell us about it, right? Including all of the real research on us, not, the research they release in the lab that they're, no one knows who's sponsoring it and so forth, and Paul Rand gets them in there. The real data that they've got are not disclosed to us. which they've funded with their trillions. They don't need scapegoats like Alexander Bell or, Sigmund Freud or whoever, to take the limelight. They don't even need all that because they are ruling by the information they're not giving and by the knowledge they have got, and by all the knowledge when, here's a new contender, someone with the telephone, Alexander Bell, even if they did invent it first, as they're inventing it, they know they're doing it, and then they just quietly go off, and they develop it further than, because they've got infinite money, they've got more money than God. So, whatever any inventor has given to the public and, got an award for, you can guarantee that they've taken it 10 times further through their trillion investments in fuck knows what lab in, Kwai Kwang with, Klaus Schwab's uncle's dog or whatever, So, and all these behaviours that we can't control is how they've amounted their empire. How do you think the drive-through works and the subway and catching the bus and, KFC and the rest of it? And all using words. A lot of these words are insulting to us. A lot of these words really mean our demise and our defeat and the glory of the opposition. But because of the brain fog, you don't realise that. It's like getting a bullet and writing your name on it. That's how bad it is, it's like getting a bullet and writing your name on it and then shooting you with it. That is the level that they're at because they've done that with our ancient site. They wanted to get into our core, into the core of our local culture, break the Liberal Party up, actually quarried into our ancient site to deface it, so then you've spoiled it. That's psychological, like if you get a scar on a part of your body, it's always in your psyche, and then they put a big dunce letter on the top of it, a big D, so it's not only maiming you, it's not only marring you, it's not only decimating, it's insulting. And then you've got, when they feed us these foods, unfortunately, it's very sad and unhappy. I'm sorry, I apologise to all the people, but, you get these addicts with the food and they can't control themselves, and then they physically disfigure themselves with the obesity, and they're carrying around the they're marred, and then they go probably get a lot of tattoos, which, I don't want to upset anyone or whatever, but, Charles and Andrew are very proud of this. I can guarantee it. Because, it makes them look better than us, and it makes us look worse. And even, getting the IRA. The best way to write off an ancient Celtic religion and culture is to spread rumours that, Irish people don't talk about it. Don't talk about religion to an Irish person. Don't talk about heritage. Well, if you're scared to, and they've got an IRA, then you won't talk about them and ask them about it and learn about it, will you? Easiest way to kill a culture. That's logic. So I think they've got, most of the general domestic behaviour, going to work, getting up, everyone's engaged, no one's got any spare time to even wake up and snap out of it and see what they're doing. If you did, they're charging you that much money, so you ain't going to drive anywhere or afford to get any adverts or promo to get any help from anyone or wake anyone up. And even if you did, they strip your money down like, Elon Musk's Twitter, strip their money down in 10 seconds, through whatever hustle that they can, fit into it, arrange, so we are under control. Now, the question is, if once they've got these, if they can either get a word through a TV set or a movie or through a song or even, through these other methods that we know that exist that are non-audible, non-visual transmission methods through devices, not human ones, or from enhanced by devices or amplified by devices, then where did that thought come from? Now, if I go into a room and get out some paper and scissors and cardboard and start packing something in a box, and then I end up cutting myself and blood gets on it, and that's weird, Now, I have to examine my thoughts. I have to be a detective, like a police officer, a detective, but in my own mind. Now, this will blow the police force off the planet. You know, these detectives in the police station who are, you know, looking for fingerprints and looking for motives and looking for criminals and looking for this and that, and they really actually don't really solve a lot of the normal domestic crimes that they should be solving. Rather, they get fines off us. Why? Because it's easy. They set the trap up, they set the road up, they know you're going on there because you've been on there every day, and then the next day you're going to go on there exactly the same like you did the day before, but then they've got a guy there which is the same bet as that piece of Scotch egg that's on the table that you're going to eat it. And it's easy for the police. Bam, bam, bam. Fines, fines, fines. It's already predetermined. Or they're fishing in certain areas. Get the fishing net out. It's all set up. It's like salmon fishing, right? So they know that through the behaviours, and they're making a killing and a fortune from it rather than catching real, proper criminals. In fact, they bring more criminals in because they want there to be more crimes. So we're all scared and we're buying more devices and then fund the economy, buying, you know, getting school gates. You don't trust anyone, and that keeps political fractions apart so they can't go up against all this. They thrive on crime. They love it. As long as they're in control of a situation and they've got the rights and power, and we don't, right? So, now, going back to me, never mind Detective Dinkins, I need to be the best detective to examine my thoughts. Where did I get that thought from? And was it a song I was singing? Now, it actually turns out that there was a song I was singing, right? And it did have that motif in it. So on that occasion, I can lay the blame on the song. So the song made me think about a drop of blood, right? And then I ended up cutting myself after being thinking about it. Now, I didn't do it on purpose. Why would I want to cut myself on purpose? But I'm just doing the box. But things happen to coordinate and just happen through. It's a level of subconscious, probably a little bit like hypnotism, you know, like they do on stage, you know, where I just end up, if I've nearly finished or got close and then I'm cutting the last bit and then my hand just happens to go there and then it cuts it. I didn't actually want to put my hand there. It just happened. So you've got that level. Now, the problem is, how would you do that in a court? If you're going to prosecute for it, is it self-harm? Did you harm yourself? Can you prosecute the person who wrote the song? If listening to the song did get the thought into your head and you prove the cause and effect was hypnotical, hypnotism effect, and then you did go pack up something and cut your finger, then the song did actually cause it. Now, this is a nightmare for the police because what you would be doing is, besides the physical realm of forensics, you would be bringing in an entire realm of thought, idea, forensic crime. And that means that you'll be prosecuting based on how ideas pass. Now, not all people can see these ideas because you can't see them. You can't pick it up like there is a dice. It's a dice. Now, in my mind, it's a dice, but I have the dice. You don't. Well, you do actually have got the word on the song because, you know, if you can play the song and you can tell them what song it is, right? Well, it's, Kaleidoscope by, the Boo Radleys, whatever. That's a song. It's Every Drop of Blood That Falls. And I listen to it and I cut my finger. So can I prosecute them, for putting out thought forms that are cutting people's fingers? Right? Now, the thing is, then the prosecutor asks, well, when they've written the song, did they intend for people to cut their fingers or not? Or that was just a random article expression? This is the thing. But once you start understanding all this, and you can see these things travel between people, right? Then it changes the entire law of the world. It changes law completely because you've got then cause and effect that is without intent, but but then with the knowledge that whatever you say or do is going to cause an effect in the world, then you're like, then they're going to start saying, well, you can't sing songs about this. You can't sing songs about manic depressive stuff. You can't sing songs about devils and demons and heavy metal. And then you're literally going to end up like on Red Dwarf When they have that episode on Red Dwarf, when they have the Red Dwarf ship like warps into two separate ships, like duplicates, and one's like the Heaven ship and one's the Hell ship, and on the Heaven ship everything goes perfect and everything is good. But like I said, in the real world, I said this on a video, right? So this as a growing baby, you laugh, you cry, your growing nervous system and mind and thoughts are exploring, have evolved. You got to laugh and cry, you're not too, this is a thing, you're not too sure how someone will react to some, if you're a baby, you're assessing whether something is harmful or not, or good or bad, and your reaction it's entirely biological. You're crying or tremoring or laughing from one to the other. The thing is, if you had this perfect world where we didn't have any bad thoughts and nothing went wrong, what would be the gain of function in that? Well, you would lose a function of crying. If you never was upset, you'd lose the ability to cry. You'd lose the ability to be sad. This is the thing with heroin addicts. Apparently they are happy all the time, and but then when they don't have it, then they're down until they get it. They want to be in perpetual happiness. You lose substance if you remove function so that it longer exists. You're taking away from something, so you're disassembling things. How do you remove? If you remove light and dark, if you remove dark and you're whited out, it's all white. I'm sure there've been books on this. I ain't read them books because I don't need to read them books. All these classics. The whole library. All join Oxford University, and you got to read these. 159 titles. Standard. Go read these books. Whatever it is. All the classics. You don't need to read those books if you can understand it yourself and work it out from your own observations. You can write off all these books. There's no point. It's just a lot of it's, obvious. What really these people want to do is white everything out. So, but then when everything's bright and whited out as you approach the sun, you can't see. This is the whole play on Google, by the way. Google, there's a big thing on being able to see things or not see things and even know what's happening when it's happening in front of your face with these people. That's why they made sure it was called Google, there's a pun in it. So, trying to come back to some sort of direction with this conversation. Right, so with your behaviour and your conduct, we aren't actually in control of it. So when we're getting, accused of being criminals and so forth, a lot of it is, predictable behaviour and biological behaviour to do with your upbringing, class, genetics, combined factors. Now, and if you've got this psychological part in play, but you've also got a subconscious part in play that you can't control, even if you wanted to, even if you know about it, even if you've been informed that, the government are corrupt and, they're taking advantage of us, but then you still carry on with your normal life and, you don't do anything about it, you don't change your voting, you still vote for Labour, you still wear the, Sheffield Wednesday shirt and you still go to the match just because it's a habitual thing. Charles can bet money on it. Like, there's no way on this earth you're not going to eat that pork pie when he makes sure there's a burger stand outside there because you're going to go and eat the burger. They've done all these trials on rats and monkeys, So now the part of it where it's actually intended though, right, I am going to go and do this or that. Kind of like Extinction Rebellion, Extinction Rebellion, right? It's like, right, we are all now going to go and whatever they're going to do, paint a building orange or go block McDonald's or do this or that. And then the police are prosecuting them because they did it voluntarily of their own vocation, but they're believers in the climate. And so you've got this, now with acting and actions, so you are the person, I am going to, collect some signatures where it takes some effort to do it. You're not just running on impulse power, as they say in Star Trek, right? You're not running on impulse power. You're running on, you've really got some will behind you. That's when you really want to actually act. Now, most people, they pursue their will to things that they like, which gives them pleasure, right? If they want to go on a walk, they'll go for a walk. But if someone takes that walk away, or, pours paint on it, or pulls your favourite trees out, when you go there, you don't get pleasure, you get upset and pain. So they've actually transmutated the landscape, so it's actually deterring you from going there. And you're not getting any pleasure out of it, and you don't like it anymore, and you don't have any memories there, and you don't love it, right? So it's actually erasing history, memories, and things that you enjoy. And if someone else buys it and makes money out of it, then, they don't care about you. They're making a profit. It makes them more powerful. It makes you enjoy your area less, so you're depowered, right? Like all these things that happen in recycling is that a lot of people don't want. They're having them whether they like it or not, and they're pulling the trees out. All these things. So there's got... In order to propel you forward, it's like, the thing with Star Trek is it's going where no man's gone before, or into the unknown. They don't know what there is out there, so they're going to explore. Now, that kind of motivation and drive really needs some propulsion power behind it, like when they went over to find the Americas, or whenever they went to find the Americas, or whenever man went to Australia continent, or whatever. There's, these immigrants coming across on the boats. There's a lot of compulsion behind them from what they've been told or what they believe. There's a lot of propulsion power. Jeff Bezos really wants to make loads of money. He wants to make as much money as he can. He wants to have the most money in the world. Something's pushing him for that. And he really wants the workforce to be under control and them to work like clockwork. There's some perfectionist in him. There's some perfectionist in his mind, and something that really, where he really thinks that he should be someone who has that much money and tells everyone what to do. Whereas most people believe in voting in elections. Or democracy, although we still kind of go along with what they're saying. Now, when you're challenging these people who are the ones who've got the power, you're getting reactions. Now, everyone reacts with their own capacity. Now, we know that Just Stop Oil are reacting because they truly believe in the environment. Whether it's true or not, I'm not here to debate the climate crisis, but they believe in it. Right, it's something they believe in, so it's compelling them to act. Now, if they're going to go out of their way to paint buildings, and we know we've got certain rights, whatever the boundary of those rights are, we know we've got them, and it's compelling them to act, and now it's compelling these ULEZ activists to act. Now, the thing is, these people like Bill Gates and, Vanguard and Charles and the military and Biden have got a lot higher capacity. When they get pissed off with, anything, they respond with a lot more capacity than throwing it in a paint at a wall. They can, turn the electricity off on the town. They can, put adverts out all over the whole world. They can change the logo on Amazon app that everyone's got to a dodgy smiley face or something. They can. Now, the question is then, coming back to this program, and I know I've gone a hell of a lot around the, all over the conversation with it. So coming back to this guy's theory on this thing, when these events happen, like, the incident on the train signal failing and 250 people die in India, or Princess Diana's crash, or that guy driving into the kids outside the school, right? So we need to know, did someone with a very, very high capacity for political action, did they cause it? Did they act to cause it? Did they hack a car and steer the controls? Did they know just the guy for the job and then arrange for them to have to go to a specific place on a route and then pull a trigger halfway along the route so something pops out? That is very hard to prove if they own all the tech, and if they own all the gadgets, and if they are at a level and capacity which is what no one would suspect them, because they don't really know who's got the motive, because these people's motives are hidden. They're hidden from us, right? and the police aren't going to investigate them because there's no, who would do it? Now, this is the thing. Who would go paint a building? Well, no, it's Just Stop Oil, but Just Stop Oil aren't trying to hide their motives. They're open about it. Like the IRA apparently were open about it. There are certain people who hide their motives, just like, these big tech guys who are making discoveries hide it because they don't want the limelight, they don't want the fame, they don't want to get accredited, they want what they've just invented, and they want to use it, and they don't want to get caught with using it or people to know what they're using it for. So it's better for them to be silent geniuses, quiet geniuses, undiscovered geniuses, non-Nobel Peace Prize, Now, as well as the fact that there must be some of them who are acting and doing things on purpose. They made the burger things on purpose, There is that. There are the other modes that I've talked about. There is the subconscious that we really kind of don't have control over, And then there is this willful action, right? And it all blends in together so we get the effect that we've got. And that is why it's hard to, control. But there's odds. You can predict the odds. It's almost like sport betting because they know certain things, they're going to put in a certain place. And, it's, you can, if someone comes around a corner, that person's guaranteed, if they see something on the floor, they're going to pick it up and take it home with them, then put it on the table, and so, all that, is, the detectives dream of this, they dream of having these skills of working everything out, but police aren't that good because they're told not to think about it too much, So what the model that this guy's got behind him on that whiteboard is effectively trying to predict what is going to happen, but by what he's saying is by what's happening now. And what he's saying is he suggested a computer model which would assess all the words currently being typed or used, right? And somehow compare those, right? To make some psychic model. There's something with that. There's a lot more depth to that because things that are happening as they're happening now, when something comes to someone's mind, everyone has got a memory of things that happened to them in the last week, and it's not so, there are time lapses between certain things and so forth. So I'm not too sure if that really actually would be accurate or not, but I see the model, and I think that, I think it could be useful, although it won't be completely 100% accurate. But I think humans are probably more capable of assessing because, to know, the thing is, this guy is indicating this, like, he's put that vortex and that symbolizes the potential. But there is a potential that is going to happen, whether you like it or not. Like the world is going to, the Earth's rotating and it's not going to not rotate tomorrow. So you can bet on that. And then most of these people have got jobs and they've got to rely on money. And unless the government locks everyone down again, you can bet on they're all going to go to work. And some of those people are going to work on certain routes and you can bet what that route is. And you can bet they're going to drive past an old man with a walking stick if someone goes and tells one to stand there or dresses them up. So, they've got very well planned out models. I mean, this is what Ian Fleming was on, but using it overseas when they're operating in other countries and wanting to get what they want out of other countries and other leaders and so forth. You just had that guy from New Zealand who was meant to be in the loop with the CIA on Vobes the other day. Apparently he was, meant to be he got some standing position in New Zealand, in the hierarchy of New Zealand or whatever, claiming that Magna Carta was fake or whatever. So, Now, the thing with this government is it likes this predictability. It likes the fact that it knows exactly what's going to happen tomorrow within certain odds, or, that Jack, John, Jane, and Jill are going to go to work, unless, they get ill or there's an incident. Why would there be? They can bet their money on it. So they've already got a gamble on a very large percentage of what is going to happen tomorrow. Right? And with you incapacitated with your money, you ain't gonna ring up, JC Decaux tomorrow and, put, advertise Dr. John Campbell's channel on every billboard in England because you ain't got the money to do it. That ain't gonna happen, right? But, Charles could, he could if he wanted to. He's got the power to make that happen, So, these guys, these people, Bill Gates with his Minesweeper calculations, they're very, very aware of their capacity and what they can do and what we have to do tomorrow and what people don't have to do tomorrow and what is likely going to happen and not happen. So Bill Gates knows pretty much what everybody's got to do tomorrow, as much as he knows what people don't have to do tomorrow. And that leaves a little bit of a problem because he hasn't got a completely accurate computer model of everyone's life and reality, so he can't make it run like his computer program. But the more and more that he owns and the more and more decisions that he can make on people who have got their own land and decisions, then the more and more that he can dictate and set the program to go how he wants it to go, reality, right? And the less and less, the less funds that we've got, if I'm, designing or looking at some artwork and I wouldn't mind getting it, made to promote something, if I can't afford it, then I'm not going to do it, am I? So my capacity is set. They know what my capability is. This is in military. You assess your opponent's capabilities. It's like on Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, when he comes back from abroad and then he's walking through the forest and Little John pulls the cord and he trips up in the river and he goes, I have nothing. As you can see now, not even my sword. He's even taken his sword away from him. You're taking his driving license away from you. If you've taken your driving license away from you, if they've taken control of your vehicles so you can't steer it where you want and it's to their schedule, you can get on a bus, that's Bill Gates is can bet that, there are 3 buses left today. You've only got 3 chances to get into town. If you don't get one of them buses, you're not going to physically get there. This is why I'm not too keen on these professors, all these academics who don't drive, who rely on the public transport. I've got to catch the 7 o'clock to Montgomery, well, when it's not running, you're not, what use is a professor who's only got 1 chance of getting to Montgomery on the 7 o'clock when it doesn't turn up? The doctor's not going to appear in the TARDIS and fucking get him there. He ain't fucking going. And you can bet your money on that, and giving him a certificate and prize award for not turning up in Montgomery. You can give him a prize plum award for not being able to turn up in Montgomery because the train didn't turn up, Here, there's a Nobel Peace Prize. Thanks, you didn't get to Montgomery today because you missed the train, or it wasn't there. It's not like one road's closed so you catch another one, or you catch the bus, which is we can't get me there in time. I've got to catch 8 buses. It ain't gonna happen. These Bezos is not retiring to public transport. Neither is Elon Musk. They've got Starlink now. So having a horse and having your own transport and your choice in it is a lot of power. And particularly if we're all on bikes, you can easily be crushed. If we're all on bikes, you don't have the range. Keeping people within, lowering the capacity and also lowering the protection to a local area, it might be good for the environment, but for individuals' power, it's no good. You can't, I want to see what these people are up to. I want to see what's going on. What are these people building? What are they planning? What are they planted next to the M5? At Gloucester, horrible, disgusting factory which makes the Cotswolds look terrible. Some cornflake box building, who gave permission for that? Painted, camo green. Terrible spoilage of the landscape, an insult to the landscape. marring the landscape, you know. This is it. Capacity is important, because if people haven't got the capacity, you can bet your odds on that they're not going to get a certain place, or they're only going to be operational within a certain area. You want to keep your opponents under capacity, particularly in health and running as well. You know, keep the nation under a certain capacity. So, you know, all that's calculated in. Now, what this guy's talking about, though, he's talking about raising people's awareness, or trying to get people's attention to focus on and think about the situation that we're in and their awareness of that, and try and snap out of the humdrum, the daily routine, the chore at hand, the task at hand. And, you know, like the worker bee, the worker drone, like waking up from, the pollen trail, and then you go, just a minute, but this is the thing, these elite believe that we are drones, that we are drone bees, and we should just, carry on getting the pollen for them, right? Even though it's not good for us. And this is what this guy's talking about. Can we change, is this the species? Well, the species wasn't overweight people tending towards diabetes and cancer with a sperm count falling below 50%. And it was a species with skills, talents, multi-talents, villagers having multi-skills, making their own shoes, making their own clothes, making their own boats, making their own rope, making their own, games and toys, making their own houses. Now, it's all specialists, you just make widgets, you pick your nose and, knock a couple of Skittles around, or whatever, right? Now microchips can only be made in a special plant in China or wherever they've got fucking hidden in Bill Gates underground Batcave factory or wherever it is. I can't make a jacket. I can't make a sofa. I can't make anything. I can't weave. I can't cobble. What can I do? In fact, am I any use to Bezos? In fact, if I lose any more skills, then if I'm not buying his products, what's the point in me? If I aren't buying his products when I get home from work, the ones that he's showing us on his adverts, then what use am I to him? Because if he's replaced me at work with a robot and I'm not buying his stuff at home, what's the point? This is the whole Stepford Wives theorem, So, what are these people up to? Now, the problem is that the general consensus of the general daily consciousness is that everyone is, only, robbers and thieves in the shadows are criminal. Only weirdos outside schools are criminal. Only, handbag thieves criminal. Only these people who are premeditating bad things because they don't have any money or just out of pure malice, right? They don't suspect that people with a hell of a lot of money and power who want to expand that and continue it, and they've got us all in a regime where they have predicted everyone's behaviour and daily actions within a certain percentage. There's not much leeway for what could, go this way or that way, right? They want to increase that to more and more percentage of control. So there's less and less unpredictability. That's just how they work, because it's how they got where they are, right? And it's not actually good for us. So they're changing the species, so these species don't have skills and talents. The bird can't build its own nest anymore. Another animal has to build its nest, or whatever, right? And, the health has been farmed, so it's pretty dire, pretty bad, and now they're wanting to bring genetic engineering. Who owns the human race? Who actually owns it? Now, the general pitch is that Joe Biden is a good man. And, all these, gurus, these platform gurus are good. They're good. They're doing it for mankind. They're doing it for everyone. It's for us. It's not for them. Well, if it was for us, why are they making all the money out of it? If it was for us, why are they telling us what we can and can't say on there? right? If we all want to be able to say these certain things and like them, why are they telling us we can't say them? It's them who don't want us to say it, right? And then you've got this whole thing where they're taking the governments to court because they're harming their future profits. Why didn't the NHS take the companies to court for causing backlogs in diabetes cases? They're harming the future figures of patient increase of the NHS. If you can take governments to court, why aren't you taking these companies to court for causing the health? Seeing though that now it's one identifiable entity that has bought it all up and is pushing it and continuing it, right? So there's that. No one on the face of this planet who believes that they should own everything and you shouldn't, and they get to decide on it and you don't, and they weren't elected. No one is good. And I'll tell you on what basis. On the basis of the Bill of Rights, on the basis of the Constitution, on the basis of the Constitution of the government that says that we elect and we decide. On that basis, right, anyone who in any situation where they don't allow us to decide or have a vote, that is not in line with the country's code, the country's foundational principle. The country's foundational principle is that we all have a say. Now, in the corporate world, we don't. You do as you're told or you're sacked, right? So it can't be good, can it? That can't be good. It can't be a few good men. Because according to the Constitution, everyone has an equal say in what we do. At work, we don't. So how can the work or the commercial sector, according to the Constitution, be deemed morally in the consensus, the status quo, as good? That means that Rishi is bad. He's a bad man. Now, Winchester has taught him that it's good to take money from people and stockpile it, and you are the ones who should be telling people what to do. They've taught him that, and he believes it like Extinction Rebellion believe the climate change. And he thinks that that is how you live, right? He thinks that I'm doing good because I collected money. I sold 15 ice creams. I'm good. I sold 10 cars. I'm good at selling cars. Rishi thinks that he's a good man. Oh, I care about people. Well, he says that. If he didn't say that he cared about people, then we knew he wouldn't be good. But it's not what he says, it's what he does. He continues to take and employ people in an ever-expanding field of endeavour that doesn't let them have a say or vote. Or unless they're the new shareholders, by the way. Not the workers who make all the things. The workers shouldn't have a say, but the shareholders who are going to continue with this enterprise and make the money out of it, they do, not the people who actually do all the work and make it, right? It's not good. They can't be good on the evidence and basis that what they're doing is not asking us what our opinion or say is. We don't have an opinion or say. We don't. They do. They decide. So, on the basis of the Constitution, when we had more separate companies, the butcher decides what meat he wants to get in, the baker decides what buns he wants to bake, even though there are trends. But now it's all owned. Everyone is under policy. Everyone is under these new, behaviours. All standardised. I don't think human beings were ever made to be standardised. We went out and evolved around the whole planet in Australia, thousands of years before Stonehenge. They're saying humans are completely different by design, by evolution. We're not the same, and we are different. And even if we can combine and mix, we're actually not designed. If we were all going to be the same, right, then we would be. But the only reason we exist differently is because of diversity and diversification, which means, being different, more and more increasing variety. Allah loves wondrous variety. So they're saying, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. And that is not the way they're going with this current business regime and corporate entity. They're trying to pull it in. Everyone wears the same clothes, everyone wears the same suits. Although in Congress, apparently they've just said now you can wear casual clothes. They're pulling everyone into the McDonald's, to the KFC, dress code, behavior, conduct, Google conduct, YouTube conduct, Facebook conduct. If we have all evolved to be different, and biologically, and culturally, and religiously, and that has thousands of years, why would you want to try to fit everyone who's got a different mould into the same mould under this corporate thing, just under the basis that, now we're all going to get along together and, Rishi's making more and more laws, yet, how come the people in charge, now they can, sack you, fire you for any reason or no reason, but that's not the laws that they're making. This is policy of a company that is beyond the law. Seems like they're exempt. Seems like, they have got immunity, like these building sites, annoying people, some of these, I don't know why the ULEZ Blade Runners, don't start, opening building sites, mock building sites and start, harassing people in London with noises, with immunity. Because, builders can get away with more harassment, than criminals can. So, this whole, what is, trying to predict what is actually going to happen and figuring out that by calculating what is happening, you've got to know what actually is happening. You've got to be able to assess, survey, reflect. But why would you be interested? Why would you be interested in, as far as this government's concerned, you should be interested in getting up out of bed, going into your job, making widgets and coming home, right? And probably watching a couple of TV shows, and they fill you in on a bit of news and what they want you to know. And then if they tell you we're all locked down and you've got to take this injection, you've got to do it. That effectively is what they want your capacity to be. And if you're particularly clever or intelligent, you can, publish a journal and sit in a room with some people clapping at you, like Duracell bunnies, right? If you join the club and the team, and then thank you very much, the military will, have a piece of that, and then they'll, make it 10 times better and do what they want with it. This is the thing. So, making an assessment, you've got to be interested, but who would be? Who would be interested? What's going on around in this country? What's happening? Well, I don't know. If I'm in a widget factory all day, I need to travel around and see what's happening. I need to travel around and see what they're doing, what they're building here, what they're building there. But even who are we? Where did we come from? What is our history? All these things, what is happening to my fellow people? To know what's happening to your fellow people, you've actually really got to care about them, and not care about them, by one foot in the grave, helping him lift his last Rolo or pouring the last pint down his throat, and then helping him into the fucking coroner's office, It may be a bit of fun or enjoyable, but, when we all go extinct, it's no fun, I think this government claim that, it's strictness, that they're doing this for our own good. But are they? I don't think they are. I think they're doing it for their own good, And, we're at a stage now where they're actually getting the ability to change what we are and what we do. Change what we even, change who we are and what we do, what we like, what we pursue, what we're going to pursue tomorrow, shoes, handbags, clothes, and that, if people don't care and they're not bothered, like this guy's saying, if you can get people to be bothered, really, are you getting them to be more interested in their station? Maybe some people aren't going to be. But I think generally, when you look at these activist groups and protesters, everyone is, there's a mixture of all kinds of people. So I think they are concerned. But, they've got a hell of a lot of people really, really to pursue certain things, like the food for a lifestyle for the sake of a food, Some people like entertainment, socializing, so they go to all the shows and the performances and the theatre or, television studios or whatever, right? Other people are happy, just going through the drive-thrus and so forth. But, what is it doing to us? Where is it getting us? And that's the thing. Some people are happy with that, and even if they have an inkling or an understanding about that, maybe it might actually be not good, they might think that that there's not really much we can do about it. This is the point that Verbs has got to. Are we just gonna are we gonna do something about it or not? So now this guy, what he's saying is that there are certain events happening and certain things happening. Now, what he's saying is, what actual control have these big tech and big industries got over us ultimately, and what percentage of it can we affect the change? Given the fact that what he's saying is that whenever we wiggle and struggle and try and do something, like the analogy of, if someone grabbed your hands behind your back, can you struggle free? Or if someone tried to tie your hands, could you struggle free? The more we struggle and instead of just, going along with it, right, and trying to get out of it, then certain things are happening, like these events are happening, and are these events intended? Is it criminal? A criminal with a very high capacity who no one suspects, right? Because everyone's good, they're all goody two shoes. Or is it just the general cause and effect of the public subconscious, someone will hear or see what's happening and, it'll just kind of happen, but they didn't intend it to happen. Like I said, if you're packing a box, I don't even want to use that example because then I'm having to repeat it and then it's having to be recorded on this recording, which I don't really want it to be, but it's an example, this is it, so, what, this is it, and what is ultimately, is it a bit of both? Now, the thing with the food is this, it's very difficult to stop. Even if they didn't have the advertising boards everywhere, even if they hadn't physically implanted and installed the feeding stations at the locations everywhere, and even if we were, not all just, sat watching TV and potatoes and doing more exercise and fitter, would we, be able to stop our compulsions for overeating and food? Well, the thing is, when you're going to places to get more food, then you're exercising more and you're going to be fitter. So, you're burning more energy off, and in the travels, you're going places and seeing what's going on because you're going out, right? When you don't go out of the house, when you just come home from work and switch the TV on, if you were in work all day and you don't travel for work, and all you know is what was happening on the radio was telling you, and then they made them turn the radios off at the workplace, until, unless everyone got a license fee, you only know what they're telling you on the mainstream TV. But now people are aware of what's going on because of these independent channels. All the independent channels are telling them what is going on and what is happening, right? So that's more awareness, or even if they're interested in it. And I think that's what he's suggesting now. We're getting to this point where people are kind of getting more aware of it.
The Counterculture Future Forecasting Group saw that this was a decision that was made by some faction of government, and they proposed the counterculture.
So, get this back to the end of the thing again. So, what effectively are the people who are in charge building? What are they making? They're actually making something. They're building things like the Hadron Collider. They're trying to find things out and discover things. And the whole premise of it is that it's all for progress in the name of science and discovery, right? But that pure basis leaves us with not a very good deal, because then the scientists have everything, it's life for science. And then you get, there's a whole, what is the meaning of life and the purpose of life, So these people have been really building, the whole science lab with the mice in it. I think that my opinion of it is that they've basically, what they've done is what they've been discovering in the lab. They've just built, they've started constructing and implanting it in the wider world around us, because it's control blind. And the word control blind experiment says it all. The two words control blind experiment, Google, that says it all. And I think that's the intention. I don't think the intention is for everybody to have a really happy life on this planet and existence with some progress. I don't think it is, because, it just isn't. The inequalities, the bad things happening, all the trillions have made, it could have been just done so differently. And it's about capacity. They can't have people being in possession of capacity to act that are not in line with their philosophies and beliefs and the way they want the world to be. And if any, they're going to remove you. Now, none of them were allowed to get where they got without being trusted. They had to be following the money. They had to be getting taxes in. They had to have a certain philosophy. They were allowed to do what they're doing because they are playing for that side. And if you're not, then, bad things are going to happen, incidents, accidents, or whatever. And if you're a certain, and the thing with certain, when the reason history and heritage comes into it is because, the power comes really from their projection of power, and their projection of power comes from, prestige and, their history, and their memory and their awarded champions and team members. And when you follow it back, it is a side, but that side only is where it is because of conquering, because of fighting, superiority. So it is about, military is about superiority anyway. The basis of military is superiority. That is actually what it is all about. Then I don't think they are nice. It's about ranks and superiorities. If it wasn't, then Rishi wouldn't be getting into a helicopter. We don't really need any of these elected ministers now. All we need is announcers to announce results and decisions. We don't actually need any of these people at all whatsoever. So it is about power and prestige. And that is why they are trying to stop us. Now, whether everyone else is going to just, what it comes down to is, if the people who are happy with the way things are and happy with the way things are going generally will continue, and I think they'll support, like, the sports channels, the main TV, the shops, the fashion designers, the rest of it, and they'll cheer and be the clapping audience, and they'll support this. People who don't like the way it's going and can predict what is going to happen and what they're actually doing on us now, maneuvering on us now, right? People are like, yeah, I don't like what they've made, and they're not going to stop. And our calculations and predictions of what they've got in store for us, planned, is, I don't want to buy that. But now they're not just selling it. They're not selling it. You're having it. When we pay our taxes, we didn't buy a burger. We didn't buy a McDonald's or a KFC or a jacket. We just paid taxes. We paid for maintenance. But what they're doing now is they're like, right, you're having cycle lanes. You're having all these trees out. You're having these Incora places. You're having all these factories. And we're having a hell of a lot more people coming over because, if you don't want to work, for cheaper and for more hours, then we know people who can. And, they'll fucking rob your house, if you don't, carry on or whatever, we get people who can. We'll get people who will. That's like George Galloway says. We'll get people in who will work for cheaper and more. And if they don't, then then they'll sell more security gates for us. They'll sell more security cameras. So that's it. And now with the window of chance for struggling and wriggling, they don't want us to, and that's what the security cameras come in. They've got everything I'm saying is recorded. All my photos are recorded on Google database as soon as I take them. Can't turn it off. They've literally got us with that. They're squeezing our testicles, right? And it's wrong. It is wrong. I did not consent, and any consent I gave was manipulated, pressured, and blackmailed for all Google access, for all apps. I don't consent to any of it. None. Any consent I give, I don't have a choice. I'm compelled to see what is going on. I'm compelled to speak. Like, you can place your bets on eating the pie. And that's why they've got us, because they know you're going to press consent and they know you're going to press submit, because they've set it up so you have to. There is no alternative. They are designing consent, designing submission, designing obedience. And that is not voting or democracy. Because with their plans, they need every single nook and cranny of life to go like the factory Bezos floor, or their plan won't work. If they cannot have us in our houses acting and being obedient like in the workplace, their plan cannot work. And they won't really need us soon, because the robot police will be coming round to the door if your mobile phone hasn't arrested you by then, and not even, metaphorically, because you never go out anywhere and all you do is look at the phone, It is, I don't think it's human. I don't think it's a celebration of the diversity of humans at all. I don't think that it's anti-racist. I don't think that it celebrates cultures. I don't think it celebrates anything. And then Charles has been banging on about France, it doesn't sell from all the handshakes that he's had going around the world, celebrating, the empire. There's David Attenborough talking about the atrocity of the animals, Why isn't Charles rocking up in, Zimbabwe and telling hunters not to hunt lions, with a big tank? He doesn't do that. Well, apparently he does something because MI5 are contacting their government headquarters and keeping him in the loop. But he's still got trillions at his disposal. You know, I just don't think that they're interested. You know, they're interested in tech, control, power, and parades. You know, why doesn't, you know, what is the value of the parade of the soldiers? What is the value of the drill? Oh, it's tradition. What's the RSPCA? Well, we could have saved, you know, 18 more, you know, Red Dolphins. You know, or do you want the soldiers marching outside the palace? Are they actually guarding it? You know, well, you know, is it a pantomime? You know, what is the point? What are those soldiers there for? They aren't really guarding anything because we've got the police. You know, I won't mind, but you know, we didn't even have a police force, and we were using the law to enforce. We were using the law to enforce it.